Welcome back. So, this morning we discussed a little bit about establishing a kind of daily practice. So starting the day with the morning practice, and in one of the sutras, the file of the sutra or file of concept, sublime, rare sublime. So there are some Buddha's kind of instructions, advice how to think and bring the practice when we do different activities. So again, how to integrate the practice in our different activities, which I will go later. But before that, I wanted to also a little bit talk about that is more kind of specific different activities, but I want to kind of talk how to integrate the Buddhism or the practice of the Buddhism in our daily life. And in different activities, so basically is, again, as we mentioned day before yesterday, utilizing whatever situations we encounter, we face in our life, to transform them into something positive, something spiritual, something on the path, whether we experience pleasant experiences or whether we experience unpleasant experiences, so that's part of our life, going through different experiences. We don't have always great experiences, neither we have a bad experience all the time, but some days, some weeks, some months, some years we have better experience, and some years, some weeks, some months, some days, we don't have great experiences. That is part of life. At least that is part of samsaric life, as we mentioned this morning. And as long as we're samsara, we cannot be, that is part of it, that is the nature of that. So it's all about learning how can we deal with them more positively, How can we deal with those different circumstances, situations, and experiences? How can we deal them, more positively and more better? How can we kind of make it, make it to our advantage, even difficult circumstances, situation, how can we make it to our advantage? How can we transform it into something more opportunity, take it as an opportunity, take it as a blessing instead of a curse, Normally, we feel like we have been cursed when things goes wrong and, difficult. But how can, instead of having that mental attitude of being that we have been cursed, how can we transform that is as seeing as a blessing, So it is all about training your mind. It's all about training your mind. If we are able to train your mind, then same situation we can feel too differently. For someone it can feel like curse. For someone it can feel like blessing. And because they feel differently, for one, they feel like curse is a very painful suffering. For someone, because they feel like it's a blessing, so they don't feel so much, emotionally, so much pain and so much, you know, devastated and being overwhelmed by that circumstances, situation, and is all our attitude, is all our perspective, attitude that would affect how we feel about the situation. And due to how we feel about the situation, then we experience differently, you know, whether we experience more positively or whether we experience very, very painfully. So, and most of the teachings on lojong is all about that, mind training teachings, and practices are all about that, Mm. And I think, in generally speaking, I'm just kind of generalizing, In generally speaking, I think the Tibetan people have a much more different way of responding positively to different challenges, difficulty they encounter in their life. And even someone who is not a great Dharma practitioner, still they have that kind of that kind of attitude. And that is influenced by the culture. And the culture that has been very much influenced by those teachings on lojongs, mind training teachings, over the centuries. Over the centuries, their culture has been very much influenced by Buddhist, philosophy, and many of those Buddhist teachings and those lojongs. And so even you are not believer of the Buddhist, still you are very much influenced by that culture. And that culture is very much kind of influenced by the Buddhist philosophy and practice teachings. And that is one of the things that lojong is very much influenced, and therefore, they always have looking at things kind of immediate kind of way of looking at it. Kind of, it's not even training, meditating, immediate kind of response is to look something positive, And by looking something positive, because you have something more positive perceptions about the situations, even though it's not a great one, and that affects the way you feel about it, and then your experience, Mm. And for, of course, then that is why we need to. So to some extent, for the Tibetan, they have some advantage in that way, because the culturally, they have that um, support of that. But for here, when we don't have that advantage, we have to try and practice, because it doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come that kind of natural response, and therefore you have to try more harder to kind of change your perceptions, and thereby changing your attitudes, and thereby changing your experience. Mm. When something bad happens, immediately, there is a way of thinking, or it is a purifications, So when you think of purifications, then it is something, your perception is something good. You are purifying something bad. You are clearing something bad by going through whatever you are going through. And so that it gives you some kind of more positive upbeat by thinking it is something, bad things have been clear, purify, So, so that kind of response or that kind of perceptions arises quite easily for a lot of them, or sometimes, you feel, oh, by experiencing, I'm taking the obstacles of others, whether it's my teachers, or whether it's my families, whether it's my friend, or whether it's someone who is having some obstacle in their life, or by me going through that, I'm taking on their obstacles. Whether that is actually real or not, it doesn't matter. But what helps is psychologically, it feels like going through that is worthwhile, because you are somehow helping them by taking their obstacle on yourself. And therefore, your perception about that is more positive. And because of that, you have better reactions or attitude, and you have just recently, of course, very small things. Where I'm staying here is a kind of very steep, quite steep here. The main road, is a steep. And of course, I walk around neighborhood, I like to do walking. So whenever there is opportunity, I have time, or if it's not snowing, raining, I like to take a walk. Wherever I live, any neighborhood, I like walking is one of the things I enjoy, hiking, walking. So I walk, often. And just recently, I was walking, there's a loop that sometimes I go around, sometimes I'm going down the steep. And then one neighbor was just coming in the car, and we just talk a little bit. In that very moment, I slipped and I roll, because it's a steep. I roll, and then I had brushes on my knees, there was some kind of blood comings and that, and then my neighbor said, "Are you okay?" I said, okay, not too bad. He said, please don't do that again. And then thought came in my mind, I didn't do it intentionally, I didn't want to roll myself, the karma just made me roll, It says it's time to roll now, and it's interesting. I've never fall there. I've been walking since I moved here, since I've lived here more than years. I've never kind of fall there, but I did fall that day. And just in front of a neighbor was, and I guess he felt a little bit bad as well. And so when he said that, I was laughing, well, I didn't intentionally roll it, I didn't intentionally want to injure myself. And, and so that is, immediate kind of my reaction, immediate kind is, there was karma that came kind of immediately, it wasn't like I was trying to reflect and contemplate and trying to make up myself. Is, it's just kind of, is immediate kind of response is, some kind of karmic is happening today, and then suddenly, while I was just thinking, and a thought came, oh, maybe I'm purifying, obstacle of my life, going through this. Of course, it is a very small injury. It's a very small, kind of cut, but just kind of that kind of feeling arise, oh, I purify, I think I purify obstacles of big obstacle of my life. And also a thought also came, maybe I'm also clearing the obstacle of His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And so that kind of thought just came, just kind of thought came. And that make much more easier to kind of not be so, instead of being too focused on the pain and the problem itself, it just kind of shift my mind to something by seeing something more positive, and of course physically there is some discomfort, pain. I still have a little bit of that, but it didn't kind of emotionally, mentally, kind of, you can beat up yourself, you can beat someone else for all different reasons, when something bad happens, but that didn't happen because of that kind of your attitude, your perceptions, and because of your that perception attitude, and that can be same with many situations in our life, That remind me another stories of one of the teachers who passed away in Nepal, Lama Kunjori. And reincarnations, they found his reincarnations. He was a great meditator, he meditated over 20 years. So anyway, one time in Nepal, in the summer, when it was raining, I don't know whether that was that day itself when he was walking, whether it was raining that day or it has rained and there was some kind of weight on the stairs, and he fall, he slip and fall and bang quite badly. And his immediate kind of, when he fall it and when he had that kind of, he hit himself, badly on that, immediately his kind of feeling or immediate kind of perception or his attitude or feeling came, oh, I'm taking all the obstacles, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And it happened in that year, there was some, someone who did observations, said there were some obstacles to the Lama Zopa Rinpoche's, life. And so he felt like that's how he felt, like, oh, I took all these obstacles on myself. And so he felt great, blissful, and happy about it. So that is again, just how it is, Physically, there is a pain, that physical pain does not go away, but mentally, instead of being upset and angry, maybe because someone didn't put a sign, is a weight, be careful, or because someone didn't clean up, so we can get upset and angry with all things, the administrations, everyone's saying, how I fall because no one warned me. No one has put sign here to warn me, or all kind of things, that could kind of, when you have that kind of, when you have that kind of accident, and when you physically beat up that, then all kind of those kind of emotions could arise and be angry and upset and frustrated, and of course different peoples, with sometimes for yourself as well, for yourself, not being mindful, not paying attention. So either we beat up someone or we beat up ourselves, So on top of the physical pain that we all go through, then we go through a lot of mental and emotional pain and sufferings. But by being able to change that kind of perceptions, Just by that, looking at things from that point of view, of course, there's only one point of view how you can look at it. Um, you are able to change the perceptions and the experience from that, And that is same with all the life, all the all the stories. I think there was like in I don't remember which year, there's a big project, FMD project, material project in India, and there was a big fire. The whole house, a lot of things burned down, the house, and a lot of holy objects, because they were having some ceremony, and something happened with a, I don't know, candle or the light, and then there was a big fire. Nobody got hurt, but it did a lot of damage. But immediately, a lot of the reactions of those monks, teachers who were there, is a good sign. It's a sign of prosperity. It's a sign of prosperity. It's a sign of progress, and that is how they respond. Fire is, because there's a saying, the fire is always going up, so it's a sign of becoming better and prosperity. So again, culturally, there's all this kind of way of thinking. When something happens, there's always some way of looking at things positively. The moment you think, it is a sign of prosperity, of course there is a lot of damage, but just to know that it's a sign of prosperity that is waiting there to be happen, that kind of make your mind put your mind much more ease, is much more ease and less upset and angry, being who started that or who didn't give attention or who was in charge or whatever that, and those are things I really like about in that cult. There is always something, when there is overflow of food, when you destroy your, then again, there is a way of saying, it's a good sign, it's overflowing, is Lord coming. So there's always something like that, So, and I believe that is influenced by those Lojong's, those Lojong's teachings that has been influenced into the cultures, that everyone, when something happens, there's a way of looking more positively to that, even though it's a immediate kind of situation is something damaging, something unpleasant, something painful, but at the same time there is a way of looking as a positive from long terms, and therefore you don't have strong resentment or negative feelings that arise from there. So I think that is where I'm talking about. How can we learn like that in our life, to no matter what situation, how can we look something positive in, try to find something positive in that, and try to focus on that positive, just like as I mentioned, seeing the blessing in disguise, seeing something as a blessing in the disguise, Mm. And then also, when we go through those difficult, challenging, painful experiences, situations, circumstances, again, being aware of that, how painful it is, being aware how painful it is, recognizing that, how painful, how recognizing, being aware, and then, I am the not only one who is going through that kind of situation. There are so many beings in the world who are going through similar pain, similar circumstances, situations. There are even those who are even experiencing even much more difficult, even much more painful, even much more suffering than myself. So your own awareness of your own pain, your awareness of your pain, you know, to feel the pain of others, you know, with your own experience, recognizing that, being aware of that, that leading you to feel the pain and sufferings of others who are going through same, similar, or even worse. And through that, with your own feeling, you allow to feel others' pain and suffering, and then allow to feel compassion for them. Compassion for them, you know, but because you recognize how painful it is, so you wish them to be free from that pain, that suffering, because it's such a painful, you know. So you wish everyone, those who are in that situation, may they be free from all their pain, all their sufferings, all their problems, and the cause of all their problem and suffering and pain. And may those who are not in that situation, may no one have to experience. May no one have to experience in the future. May no one have to experience such suffering, pain, and problems. So you make that heartfelt, wish, prayers, you know. And when you are able to do that, when you're able to do that, then you kind of you transform your own pain into something more spiritual, to cultivate more compassionate, to understand feeling of others' pain, and to feel compassion for others. So you are able to transform your pain into a compassion state. And thereby you transform into the path. Thereby, and once you are able to do that, then again, when you really feel the pain of others, when you really feel compassion for others, you don't feel so much about your own pain. Your pain seems so small. Your pain feels so small, nothing compared to others' pain. And when you feel that, you don't feel your pain as overwhelming, as devastating as you felt before. When I feel, why it is happening to me, why? Sometimes we have that kind of, that is why we feel, why me, or why my family, why my friends, why does it happen to me? So when that happens, we just think of my problem, just my problem. And when you do that, the problem become more bigger. Bigger in the sense you feel it bigger than it is. You feel the problem bigger than it is. You feel the pain stronger than it is. On the other hand, when you are able to expand your mind from being too kind of focused on your own pain, but with your own pain, you allow you to feel the pain of others and open your eyes to recognize that you are the not only one who is going through that pain. There are so many and even much worse. And when you started to feel the other's pain and suffering, you feel like your pain is so small. Your problem is so small. Once you feel your problem is so small and so little, you don't feel as strong, intense as you were feeling before. You don't feel it as overwhelming and devastating as you were. In one, it helps you to reduce your own pain, intensity of your pain. Secondly, it helps you to, cultivate, it open your heart to feel compassion for others and thereby transform into the path. Therefore, transform into the path. And therefore, in a way, it is a disguising, a blessing in disguise. It was painful, but it opened your heart to feel compassion for others. It opened your heart to feel compassion for others. It opened your heart to feel the pain of others and thereby compassion for others. And then, of course, if you can, then you can do, by me experiencing this, whatever pain, difficulties, by me experiencing that, may no one have to experience that. May I be able to experience on behalf of everyone, So you make those kind of prayers, wishes, dedications, By me going through whatever I'm going, may I be able to experience on the behalf of everyone, so no one have to experience that anymore. May I be able to experience on behalf of everyone, so they don't have to experience. And on top of that, if you can, then you can do the Tonglen practice, taking and giving. So if you can do that. So again, within this practice, you can have many different level of practice. One is feeling compassion, and second is feeling worthwhile going through this, because I'm experiencing on behalf of everyone, so they don't have the experience in the futures. And then on top of that, if you can, then even doing Tonglen practice, taking and giving. So then through that, then that's how we can transform. And if we use that, we will get a lot of opportunity to practice that through our life, time to time. So that is when difficult situations, experiences, circumstances happen, because that we experience that very often in our life, time to time. But also we experience also good experiences. Sometimes things go well in our life. Things are better. Not as problem, not so much problem, not so much pain, difficulties, challenges. Sometimes in our life things seems okay. Not only okay, sometimes things feel good. You feel good about your life. You feel good about your experiences. Sometimes for years, sometimes months, weeks, days. Again, when we feel good, also again, being aware of that, recognizing that, I'm feeling good, things are going well in my life at this point, not so bad. I'm grateful, thankful. It's the blessings of the Gurus, it's the blessing of the Buddhas, it's the blessings of those holy beings. I'm grateful to them. Feeling grateful about that. It is also a result of, my own karma, my own positive and wholesome actions. And through by understanding that, then it inspires you to engage in more positive karma, or in more positive, wholesome action, to engage more and more, because it's a result of that actions. What I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, is a result of my own wholesome actions. And therefore, I must practice even more wholesome actions, so I continue to experience such experiences in the futures. So again, that situation inspiring you to be more, inspiring you to practice more, practice better and more. Again, you transform your pleasant, happy situations, experience into path, into virtues. Also, we can dedicate all our, happiness, all our goodness, whatever experience we are experiencing, may everyone be able to experience that. May everyone be able to have a good health if we have good health. If we have some kind of prosperity, may everyone be able to experience that prosperity. If you are feeling good, physical, emotionally good, happy, peaceful, may everyone experience that kind of peacefulness. May everyone experience that kind of happiness. May everyone experience that kind of virtue. So, whatever we're experiencing, again, cultivating loving kindness, that your own good experience, your own good situation, circumstances, inspiring you to open your mind, heart, and cultivate loving kindness. Wishing all others to have that kind of happiness, that kind of goodness, that kind of positive experience, happiness, and cause of happiness. So you wish them to have all of that. You dedicate your own virtue for them to have that. So again, in that way, you try to share that, mentally, spiritually, from the practice to with others, wishing them to have like that. Everyone, may everyone has, like that situation, that experience all the time, and the cause of all the time. And may I be able to create that kind of cause and that kind of experience for everyone. So again, through that so that is how we try to apply in our life, whatever happens, whatever situation, whatever experience we experience or encounter, how can we make that more spiritual? How can we transform that into more spiritual? How can we transform that into the path? So that those experiences doesn't just remain ordinary experience, but try to transform, try to make it more, spiritual and virtuous from those experience, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral experience, whatever, and whatever circumstances, situations. So I think that is one, I think, important factors, I think, to bring that in our everyday experiences, everyday life, And if you are able to do that, then also you will find much more peace and happiness in your life. Those different experiences, those different circumstances, situation will not affect you negatively so strongly. It will not be able to affect you negatively so strongly. You will be able to handle them with much more ease and with much more peace and a steady mind. And so that will not affect you so badly. And thereby, the moment we are able to transform those different experience situation to cultivate loving kindness, compassion, and thereby transform the path, not only it change immediate kind of our feelings because of, the way we feel and our experiences, but also, of course, it helps us to develop more spiritual path and realizations, practice, improve our practice. Also by that, we create so much of virtues, merit, positive karma, just by having those thoughts, those positive thoughts. Hmm? So that is kind of general. Okay. So then, as I mentioned before, I'm going to kind of read from one particular sutta some of the advice the Buddha gave, instruction, advice. And again, those can be just kind of, one way of looking at things, activities when you do. Again, it doesn't mean, that is the only way. Within each of our activities, there are so many different ways we can bring the Dharma into it, in all activities. We can bring many aspects of the Dharma within that. We can bring the compassion aspect of the Dharma within each of the different activities. We can bring the wisdom aspect of the Dharma within each of our activities. We can bring the mindfulness aspect of the Dharma within each of our activities. We can bring the purification aspect of the Dharma within each of our activities. We can bring, the accumulations of the virtues and the merit in each, within each, that aspect within each of our activities. So there are so many different aspects of the Dharma that we can bring into each of those different activities. It depends on individuals, what they are trying to focus. If you are trying to focus on compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, you try to bring that aspect of the practice within all your activity throughout the day. If you are focusing on the wisdom in that particular time, then you can try to bring the wisdom aspect of the practice within all the different activities. Or if you want to focus on mindfulness, and you can bring that aspect of that. So it depends on where you are focusing in particular part of the practice, so that you can try to bring that practice, aspect of practice within all activities. So those advice are just one suggestions, one way of bringing the Dharma aspect in that, but it is not the only one. You can bring many different aspects of the practice and the Dharma within the different activities. So here it's in that sutra it says, when you make an offering of the flowers and incense and so forth to the stupa of Tathagatas or the statues of Tathagatas, you try to think and dedicate and think, may I be able to dispel the bad smell of wrong moral or morality or unethical, the bad smell of unethical and unmoral practice, of all sentient beings, and may all sentient beings be able to, experience the delicious or nice smell of the more pure and perfect moral practice of the Tathagatas. So again, when you use that offerings, when you clean your places, whether you are cleaning the house, vacuuming, or you are cleaning the table, dishes, whatever, when you clean, then you can think, that I'm cleaning all the delusions, all the obscurations of all the sentient beings. Again, you visualize, you think, cleaning all the obstacles obscurations, all the delusions, dirt of all of them, cleaning all of them, cleaning all the, bad conduct of all sentient beings, and then dedicating them to have good conduct, positive conduct, virtuous conduct, and for all them to have the realizations. So while you are cleaning physically, you work with your mind, thinking about cleaning of the internal dirt of all sentient beings. And again, it can be powerful and helpful when you are able to do that. There is a stories of, Arhat, Papa Lamchung, there were two brothers, during the Buddha's time, and the elder brother was very bright, very sharp, very bright, and he followed the Buddha. He became a monk, and he became a great teacher, because he was very sharp and he was very intelligent, and that. And his other brothers also wanted to join, become a monk, but of course you have to study, you have to meditate and study. In order to meditate, you have to study first, So at the very beginning, he went to one teacher to learn, and after some time, the teacher gave up, His mind was, his faculty and mind was so dull, You teach him one thing and he forgets. You teach another one, he forget what has been already taught, so dull. He couldn't learn anything, he just forget. He couldn't just kind of. And so he gave up, the teacher gave up. Then finally his brother tried to teach him. His brother also couldn't help him, couldn't help him because his mind was so dull. And he gave up, And so he said, you can't, it became hopeless, And he was crying, because he felt like that nobody, everyone give up on him, everyone give up on him because of his. And then at that moment when you're crying, Buddha show up and say, what happens, And he explains, and Buddha tells him, don't worry, I will help you. Don't worry, I will help you. I can help you to do that. But first you need to do something. So then Buddha told him, to clean the area around monastery. At the very beginning, first he asked him to clean the sandals of the monks. When they go to the temple, they put outside. So to kind of brush and clean them. And then Buddha told the monks that they should allow him to do that because he needed that. He needed that, so therefore he advised the other monks to allow him to clean that. So he did that for a while, and then Buddha asked him to clean around the area around the the place. So he used to clean, and of course the advice Buddha, while he was cleaning that, told him, he was giving 2 words to recite, Dulbang Timapang, abandoning the dirts, abandoning the stains, So while he's doing that, he have to recite that. At the very beginning, he forget that, even those 2 words. And then Buddha advised also the other monks to help him to remember to recite that. So whenever the other monks come, they will try to remind him, they will try to help him to just recite that while he was cleaning. And then he did cleaning, for a while. And one day, suddenly, he has an enlightened experience. Oh, that is what it means, cleaning the stain, cleaning the dirt. It's not about cleaning the external dirt, it's about cleaning the internal dirt. Oh, it is about cleaning and the internal dirt of attachment. is about cleaning the dirt of anger, cleaning the dirt of ignorance. And that was when he has that kind of, so after he started cleaning, and that process helped him to purify, whatever obscuration that he had, whatever obscuration he had, and to be, and then that, since then it changed, then he became, afterwards he became great practitioner, great meditator, very learned and great teachers, and he became very inspiration for so many others students that who came later. He became a great inspiration for them, how he started and where he reached. And that was one, that cleaning with the cleaning. And so here, same thing, when you, Buddha giving advice, when you are cleaning, even though you are physically cleaning the external thing, but in mind, you think and imagine and visualize and think, that I'm cleaning the internal dirts of not just yourself, of all sentient beings. May they be all clean of that, so that, yeah. And when here is that when you are using an umbrella, you can think that you are protecting, even though of course externally you are protecting from the heat or the rain. But again, you think that I'm going to protect all sentient beings from all the afflictive emotions, the root afflictive emotions and secondary afflictive emotions, in order to protect them from there, so therefore I'm going to use this umbrella, and then again you dedicate and you pray that may I be able to protect all sentient beings from the harm of their own delusions, whether it's the root delusion and secondary delusions. And again, that. And then when you go in the temples, here it says, you try to generate a thought, when you enter the temple, you generate a thought, to lead all sentient beings to state beyond sorrow, that I'm going to enter the temple, I'm entering it in order to liberate, in order to lead all sentient beings to the state that is beyond the sorrow, the state of liberation, nirvana. When you come out of the temple, then again you try to generate a thought, that I'm going to release all sentient beings from the prison of samsara. Again, you try to generate that I'm generate strong thoughts to release all sentient beings from the prison of the samsara. So again, each of those different thoughts, in relation to the different activities, that when you develop such thought, each of those, you are reconnecting with your own goodness, your own compassion, always thinking about other sentient beings. You are always connecting with your own goodness. You are watering your compassionate seed in your heart. We all have that seed. And each time we think of that, it's like giving a water to the seed, that seed, so it can grow, so it can blossom to its full potentials. It's like kind of revisiting to that safe place, it's revisiting that place, So And when you open the door, when you open the door, here it says you think I'm going to, when you open the door, then you think, with the exalted wisdom, I'm going to open the door to the higher rebirth, to all sentient beings. That I'm going to, with that wisdom key, that wisdom key, that I'm going to open the door to a higher rebirth or higher happiness of all sentient beings towards that. So again, thinking that way. When you close the door, think, I'm going to close the door of all the lower rebirths to all sentient beings. I'm going to close the door of the lower rebirth and the suffering of lower rebirth to all sentient beings. So it might be nice, to write all this and just to reminder by the door. You can remember that when you see that, and you can actually think about that. And so you can have small kind of just 1 line, 2 lines, just to remind you at the very beginning. But if you keep on doing that, after some time, you don't need a reminder. You will be able to do that naturally, But at the very beginning, even if we want to do it, we will forget, We do one day and then next day we forget it. And so we need a reminder, We need a reminder. And so just kind of posting, you write it and posting by the door, and like different things that you use, then so then you can do that. And here it says, when you sit, you think, I'm going to sit here until I'm able to liberate all sentient beings to fully enlightenment. So again, trying to generate that. So again, it's all about thinking of doing something good for all sentient beings. It's all, that's more related with your action, your activities. So when you sit, just like Buddha attained under the Bodhi tree, he sit there and he generated a strong determination that I will not move until I achieve enlightenment. That was the determination the Buddha made when he went under the Bodhi tree before his enlightenment. Before that, he moved few places, He was meditating at different places. And at last, he went under the Bodhi tree and he made a strong determination, I will not move out of this seat until I achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And with that strong determination in one seat, that is why he achieved enlightenment. And that is why it's called Bodhi tree, because I don't know what they used to call before the Buddha's enlightenment. It must have a different name at that time, but later it became known as Bodhi tree because Buddha achieved the enlightenment after that. Bodhi means enlightenment, And when you sleep, then here it says, you think of, in order to lead all sentient beings, to the parinirvana, or the state beyond the samsara, or the sorrow, that I'm going to sleep, like the Buddha passed away. When Buddha passed away, then he that's when he achieved Mahaparinirvana, and that is state beyond sorrow. So that similarly that like in order to liberate all sentient beings to nirvana, that I'm going to sleep. Mm. When you wake up from the sleep, when you wake up, when you get up, when you wake up, then you think, I'm going to get up, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to get up in order to awake all sentient beings from the sleepiness of the delusions. So I'm in order to awake up all sentient beings from being, not awake, which is sleep, in the delusions, in order to awake up from their delusions. That is what Buddha means. Buddha means being awakened. And awakening from what? Awakening from the delusion, from the obscurations. So again, in order to awaken up all sentient beings, in order to from all the delusion, obscuration, therefore I'm going to wake up. Mm. And again, when you sit, you get up, and when you sit, whether it's your cushion, whether it's your bed, wherever, then again you can think here. It says, in order to liberate the pain of in order to liberate all sentient beings, the pain of attachment, the pain of anger, and the pain of the ignorance, that I'm going to sit here. Mm. And then when you wash, whether you are washing your body, face, whatever, you think, I can cultivate and think, generate a thought that, I'm going to clean all the stains of afflictive emotions of all sentient beings. I'm going to clean all the stains of the afflictive emotions of all sentient beings. Hmm? And then when you move your hands, you think that, in order to clear all the, bad smell of afflictive emotions of all sentient beings, in order to clear that, therefore I'm moving, just like when you clear something, with your hand, like that. And then when you hear it says, when you wash your feet, I guess because in India, there is a tradition, they wash, feet all the time. In order to clear all the dirt of the afflictive emotion of sentient beings, I'm going to wash my feet. And similar when you brush and clean your that. So in general, here it says, in general, whatever movement you do with your bodies, whatever different activities, movement you do with your bodies, you always think of helping and benefiting other sentient beings and dedicating for them. So that is in that sutra. That is some example, but again, if you actually read the sutra itself, there's a lot, much more details with many more different activities or different. So it just gives you some idea. The idea is that you always think of being helpful and beneficial to other sentient beings, all sentient beings, with every actions, with every activities that you engage into. When you do that, then that itself becomes meditation on loving kindness. That itself becomes meditation on compassion and bodhicitta. Compassion and bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, it being, having concern for others' well-beings, concern for, their suffering, pain, and the wish to be wish to help them to free from their, the pain, suffering, and lead them to their happiness. So that is all. And so each time with that, if we can remind ourselves to think, to cultivate that thoughts, that mind in that moment, then definitely that itself become practice and meditations. So that is a little bit on some of the different activities that from sutras that explain, that how we can apply, and again, as I mentioned before, we do spend a lot of time eating, cooking, every day, washing, that takes quite a big part of, maybe here, maybe a little bit less, because everything you do it by the machine, maybe. So, but I realize, like when I was doing, whenever I do retreat, when I do a more kind of formal retreat, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, I like to have just 2 meals and not have that dinner, Also in general, I also don't have, but definitely when you don't cook, when you don't eat dinner, you find so much time, almost like 2 hours, cooking, preparing, cooking, eating, washing. All that seems to take for with one meals. It seems to take hour to two, And when you don't have to do that, it's strange, like I'm able to find much more time when I'm in retreat, even though you are doing 3 session, 4 session of that practice. And I do my normal, commitment practice. And still I find time to do other things, reading the Dharma book, studying, and all of that. But in the normal times, even you don't do, 1 sessions a day, you struggle to find the time. It's a very interesting that, that my awareness or my observations that I found. Normally, you will think you will have less time because you are doing 4 sessions, and each session could be an hour and a half, 2 hours, And but even with that, you find more time to do Dharma things than normal days. And, so anyway, because I was talking about the cookings, eatings, and all of that, because we spend a lot of time with that. So again, how to bring the Dharma while you are doing all of that. And again, as I mentioned, you can bring wisdom aspect of that, compassion aspect of the practice, mindful aspect of the practice, or all of them, so it depends, so whatever you want to focus on, of course, if you bring the mindfulness aspect of the practice, then when you are chopping, when you are cleaning, when you are cooking, when you are putting all the oil, everything's, with all the different spices, being very aware and mindful of each of steps that you do, instead of just putting things and your mind somewhere else, thinking about something else, but your hands is just kind of putting everything and just doing all the time. That is not being mindful. But when you are being mindfully, then you are being aware of each movement, everything that you put, what you are putting, how much you are putting, how you are putting, all of that, being just in the moment, in the present, what you are doing. So you can do that while you are cooking, while you are eating, being moment of each of the spoon you take it, what it is in the spoon, being aware and mindful of what is in the spoon, and how you put it and how you test it, and being aware in moment of what you are testing, this whatever sensation, whether it's the spices, whether it's the salt, whether it's whatever, being better aware and mindful of each of them. Because most time we are eating, but our mind is somewhere else. We are not even aware and mindful of what we are eating and how it tastes, what it tastes, you know. And so again, mindful of that. And again, same thing when you wash the dishes, again, being very aware and mindful of each moment, each movement, each whatever you are doing, being present in moment. And then, every time we eat, every time we drink, it's nice to be remember to offer them to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha first, and then take as a blessing, as we mentioned yesterday. Each time we do that, we remember the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and mentally make those offerings, and then take it as blessings. And then, if you try to bring the compassionate aspect of the practice in that cooking, eating, and washing, again, you can think, I'm able to prepare this food. I'm able to prepare this food because of so many sentient beings' contributions, kindness, compassions, the farmers who grow that, the people who transport them, the people who sell in the grocery, and in order to transport, those, there need to be transportations. So people who created those transportations, all the raw materials, and those farmers, they get the seed from somewhere else. And so when you think of that, that is always just the food, it's then in some of all other things we need for that, so many things we need to prepare that. We are able, because we don't create all of these things by ourselves. We didn't create it. Someone has to create it. Someone had to create it. And because of their contributions and help, then I'm able to, make our life more convenient, easier, to be able to get everything that I need to prepare this food. And so bringing that, feeling the kindness and compassions and contributions of others towards our this. And same thing when you eat, you are able to, taste this nutritious food that help for your survival, for your good health, and that will help your practice, all of them. Again, you are able to experience, you are able to eat it, you are able to, because of so many, we need the bowls, the plate. We didn't make our own bowl, we didn't make our own plate, we didn't make our own spoon, and whatever other things that we need, and all come from others, just for one. So many sentient beings, directly, indirectly involved, contributed their contribution, their kindness, recollecting, remembering them, and feeling the kindness of them, gratitude of them, grateful, thankful of them, Same thing when we wash, if it's too cold, we can switch on the hot water. We didn't create ourselves. There are some people who created that, where we can have choice, cold, hot water, how hot, how cold it is. The soap that we need to clean up, those who created the soaps, the sink or the dishwasher, whoever created, and those are not created one person, it is created by so many things. Someone come with the idea, someone invest it, and then there are so many people who make each part of those different things that come together. The people who created the electricity to run it on electricity. And so when you think of that, with just one thing, just washing, to make it comfortable, convenience for us. So many peoples, so many beings directly, indirectly involved there. And again, remembering their kindness, their contribution, recollecting them, and then again, feeling grateful, thankful, gratitude. So that is how you bring the compassionate aspect of the Dharma in all of these activities. So once you feel their contributions, once you feel their kindness, then you feel closer to them. You feel them closer to you. You feel them closer to them. You feel more connected. You feel them more dear. And when you feel more close, dear, more connected, then it's easy to feel love, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. And then once we feel their kindness and contribution, then we cultivate a strong wish to repair the kindness, the wish to help them to free from their suffering, the cause of suffering, the wish to do work for their well-being and happiness, And so through that, then again, we can bring the compassion aspect of the path. And you can bring that in everything that we do, everything we do. When you drive, same thing. When you drive, or even you don't drive, if you are using a public transportation, anything, same thing. You think same, you can bring that wisdom, the compassionate part in all of that. When you go to the hospital, or even using here now the technology for us to, engage, communicate, is due to kindness and contributions, and support and help of so many beings that allow us to do that. Um, so bringing that compassion aspect in all different activities we can do, and you can bring the wisdom as same way. You can take dependent arising of everything that we engage while we are preparing, all the dependent arising of that while we are eating, the dependent arising of that while we are cleaning, dependent arising of that. So again, bringing through the contemplating and through analyzing from the dependent arising point of view, then again, we bring the wisdom part of the Dharma within each of our activities. So then I think, maybe I should kind of just touch on evening practice, So it's good to start the morning practice with the motivations and a little bit of, placement meditation and analytical meditations, whatever subject you use. If you can use Lamrim, that's great. If not, whatever, do that, start the day. And then the evening, we try to end the day, by spending some time, again, even if you can find 10, 15, 20 minutes, that's great. If you can find more than that, it's even greater, better. But again, at least again, try to find, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, to reflect on the day, This morning, we try to start the day with a good intention, motivations. How did the day go? How did the day go? Did it go well as we expected, as we try to generate motivation this morning? If things have since going well, we didn't get too upset, too angry. We didn't do something that is harmful to someone. We didn't engage something that is hurtful and harmful to someone. We try to even have a positive thought to others. We might have been even be able to help someone. When you when we feel, when you reflect on the day, when it seems it's gone more, more virtuous, more positive, more wholesome, you rejoice that how wonderful I've been able to spend the day in such, wholesome, positive way as I expect, motivate or determined to do that, and then making strong determinations to continue to carry that tomorrow and the rest of the life, rest of the week, month, year, and rest of the life, and even do better, you know. And if we find, that we have done something, that we are not so happy or not so proud about it, we might have some negative thoughts, even we didn't have to want, even we don't want to have negative thoughts, but maybe throughout the day, there were times some negative thoughts came. And sometimes not only we had some negative thoughts, sometimes we even have, use our speech more negatively, being a little bit too harsh, you know, and not so kind and not so compassionate speech. Or sometimes even our physical expressions, gesture is not so kind and compassionate and that, but more kind of aggressive, more unwholesome. So if we analyze, throughout the day, our thought, our speech, our physical actions, behavior, and then, if we find something that we shouldn't have done, which is not positive, not wholesome, then we try to purify them. We try to purify them. Of course, those are the things that we can reflect, contemplate on today, but also, some of other things that we did last week, last month, last year, or when you were young, or many of them that we don't remember from the past. There are so many things that we could have done, we might have done. So even we don't remember all of them, but we can kind of generalize them. Those which we remember, we try to collect. And then, we try to kind of acknowledge those are not helpful, beneficial, those are not healthy, those are mistakes. So we acknowledge the mistake. With that acknowledgement, then we, regret that, but then we move forward, then what I've done is something not helpful, not beneficial, something mistake, but with that regret, making a strong determination in the future that I will not make same mistake again, or I will try very hard to not make that mistake again, making a strong determination, and then taking the refuge and generating both the motivations, and then we can try to do some practice to purify all those negative karma, by visualizing and reciting some mantras, or by reciting the name of the Buddha during prostrations, or by reciting the refuge prayer during prostrations, or by doing visualization, such as by relying on Bodhisattva mantras, whether you can do the long one or short one, and then, with the visualizing, cleansing and purifying all your negative karma, all the delusions, all the obscurations, and being completely pure and receiving all the blessings and all the realizations. We can do that, or we can meditate on, as a way to purify, we can meditate on emptiness. The emptiness of the negative karma itself, the emptiness of the person, yourself, who is created the negative karma, and the act of creating itself. So again, meditating on emptiness of all of them, as a way of purifying. Or cultivating strong bodhicitta mind to all sentient beings in order to purify. So then you try to do that kind of purifications before you go to the bed. And then you do the final kind of dedications, dedication for all the virtues that we have engaged in the past, present, future, and especially all the virtues that we have created during this from morning to today. We remember all the virtues that we did, all the positive, whatever positive thought we have, whatever actions we have done, positive virtues, and we dedicate all of them for the best of all sentient beings and well-being of all sentient beings, to be able to cultivate the bodhicitta mind, to bodhicitta mind within oneself and other sentient beings' mind stream, to be able to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and so forth. So we try to do the dedications, and then we go to the bed with the motivations, in order to be in order to be best benefit to others, we need to achieve enlightenment. To achieve enlightenment, we need to practice. To practice, we need to be healthy, and to be healthy, you need some rest in your body and mind, and therefore I'm going to sleep to have that rest and recover, so I can be healthy, so I can practice, I can be more benefit and help to others. So with that kind of bodhicitta motivation and intention, then we go to the bed. So that is more or less kind of little bit of how to integrate the Dharma into our daily practice and our activities in our life. Okay. So any questions, comments, cautions, sharing? You have anything before we do the dedications?
Geshe, I have a question for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please.
This is Burke. There's a question about analytical meditation. And I'm wondering if you think that reading a Dharma book and slowly reflecting as one reads can amount to analytical meditation, or is there something special about sitting, on a cushion without a book and reflecting that way?
I think while you are reading and reflecting can be analytical meditation, absolutely. It doesn't have to be something that you really kind of sit cross-legged and quietly. But definitely when we do sit, I think, when you are reading and reflecting, sometimes it can become too intellectual. Sometimes our mind can go towards becoming more intellectuals. And whereas when you're sitting and trying to meditate, then sometimes it helps to be less intellectual, even though while we're using the analytical meditation, but to not get distracted by that kind of intellectual, point of view, to go in that towards more of that. But otherwise, it's same, you can, while you are, wherever you are reading and taking the time to reflect, contemplate on the meaning of that passage, meaning of that points, that topics. And so that can be analytical meditation, absolutely, it can be. Yeah.
Geshe, this is Doug. So I'm just curious on your thoughts of the interaction of mind and actions. I'm involved in another practice, and in that particular practice, we stress the value of actions first. It's like a horse in a cart, that if the actions are proper, then the mind will follow. They obviously go together, but the action of making time for meditation or different things like that. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts as to which is primary or how they go together, action and thoughts.
It is the body and the mind has strong connections, and our state of body can affect our mind, and our state of mind can affect our body, so because they are very much interrelated, interconnected. They are not isolated, dependent arising, interconnected. So definitely, when we are not feeling physically well, tired, exhausted, that can affect our mind, meditations, all of that. On the other hand, when we have a strong negative emotion, it can have an effect on our body, our, illness. On the other hand, when you have very positive mind, calm, peaceful mind, it has an effect on our body as well. So there are definitely, in same way, there is also connection between the mind and, whether it's a physical or verbal actions or even mental actions, and our action can sometimes reinforce our mind, and also other way around too. But according to my understanding from what I've studied, from all the sutras, the prime, even though they affect each other and they're interconnected, but the primary man is the mind. It's the mind that drives everything. It's the mind that drives everything. Now I'm trying to recollect one of the statements from Sutra where it's about that. Where it says the mind, the primary, and is the main ones. I cannot recollect that exact statement now. So the mind is the motivation of the mind is very most important,
Thank you.
Yeah. And even if we think even in our general life, what kind of action I engage into. Will I go engage into a harmful action, or will I engage into helpful actions? It very much stays on my state of mind. It will be my mind that will be the main factors of my actions. If my mind, if it's come from a negative state of mind, such as anger, the actions will be harmful. If it's come from a compassionate state of mind, my action will be more beneficial, helpful. So, and then even in creations of all these new creation that we are experiencing, continue to develop new and new technology, new and new things regarding everything in medicine to everything. And all this come through mind. People thought about how to improve, how to make better, how to make it. So it all starts with the thoughts and the intentions and mind to do that. That actually drive then the action to take and to create that. So it's quite clear. It's come from the mind. It always starts from the mind. Therefore, the mind being the primary of them, even though they could affect both each way, but the mind is the primary. Yeah. Okay, so then we can do the dedications. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not as born arise, may that as arising not decline, but increase more and more. You can follow, chant with Tibetan, or you can recite in English, whatever you feel comfortable. Kanre rawe kowe shingam de pentan dewa malwe chungwe ne jere senwa tenchen gyatso yi shabe site patu tencho chi. Tongni ninje sondu jugbe lam cheche seje kanje tenjo chana beme tenchen gyatso la sowa deso shenden luto. Zu chang xin sham gen jia wei, ten jin yong bei wei kun so to kwa ra zi, chong song ku wei le mon tu du, ba ha na so du je guen du xiao ten. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining for during this weekend, and thank you again.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
We hope you return. We offer you this virtual kata and offering, and we thank you so much for the amazing teachings. We always appreciate it, and we hope to have you back very soon.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon. Thank you.
See
Thank you, Geshe.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
Geshe.
Geshe, thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.